Hello and welcome to the incredibly influential and highly successful podcast. I'm incredibly influential.
And I'm highly successful.
It is Thursday, April 28th, 2022 as we're recording this. And do you have anyone you want to dedicate the podcast to?
Um, hmm. Is there anybody to dedicate the podcast to this week? Let's dedicate it to to hardworking mothers, right? I feel like that's always a good one.
Yeah, hardworking moms, single, married, doesn't matter. We see you, we support you.
Yes, I feel like hardworking moms, they don't get enough recognition. So here's a little bit to make up for it. So
Yeah.
where do you wanna start off this week? I'm not sure if we're going to become like the Moon Knight podcast at the beginning of every single episode, but
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about it this week, just a little bit. We don't got
yeah,
a deep dive like we did last week. You watched the
uh,
episode, I'm sure.
yeah, I checked it out a little earlier just to make sure I was all caught up, but it's pretty interesting. What are your thoughts so far?
This episode was very heavy, um, like emotionally. Uh, really went into some darker stuff than the MCU is really used to. It's kind of yeah, I'm not really used to it going that dark, but it was really interesting. Just to see we got to see some of Mark's uh, Jewish heritage. That was pretty cool. We got to see him wearing the yarmulke.
Y-
That's pretty neat.
Yeah,
We
there
got to
was
see
a
his dad and his mom.
Yeah, we do get to learn a little bit more about like the upbringing. I remember I kind of talked about that a little bit the first episode. I was real interested in kind of seeing like how our character came to be how they were, right? And we did get a lot of
Mm-hmm.
that backstory that I was really hoping for.
Yeah.
And it really explained, like who was the original, why there was two of them, things like that. They didn't ever address the third coffin, which I thought was, hopefully that reveal is coming eventually.
Yeah. I don't know how they're gonna handle the final episode because they've got a lot to do and they don't have a lot of time to do it because Oscar Isaac said, well, Marvel has said that this is a one-time deal. This is a limited series. It's just going to be the 6 episodes. Oscar Isaac says he's not coming back. I think that remains to be seen, but I do think that if they want to introduce Jake Lockley before the end of the series and figure out a way to bring Steven back because he's obviously not dead, um,
Hmm.
and stop Amit and address the psych ward thing. It's a lot to do in an hour of television. Plus, they have to give a satisfying reunion to Layla and Mark, and yeah, they have to do that too. So they have to wrap up the romantic subplot. They have to wrap up. They have to free Khonshu. They have to kill Amit. They have to kill Harrow. They have to deal with yeah, there's a lot of things that they need to deal with in not a lot of time. So,
Yeah.
uh, it's a
Yeah,
bold
I
strategy, Cotton. We'll see how it pays off.
yeah, I definitely feel like they have enough where they could probably stretch it out to a second season or maybe like a movie tie-in of some sort, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And I feel like, with the amount, like you said, they have left, I am really curious how exactly they're going to all do that. I know that in the past, there hasn't been a lot of shows that have merited a sequel. Besides, I think, was it Loki was the only one I think that had
Yeah,
a
Loki
sequel
had
planned,
a
right?
Loki does have a good setup for a sequel at least. I don't know if they have one planned, but I'm sure. You know,
I think it's
everyone
the
loves
only
Tom
one.
Hiddleston.
I'm pretty sure it's the only one that has like a confirmed sequel planned. But every other kind of story they've tried to tell us has been like a one-off story. Like WandaVision, that's a one-off story. Falcon and Winter Soldier, that's like a one-off story. I feel like there's another
Hmm.
one that I'm missing. Is there?
Hawkeye.
Oh, yes. Of course. Can't forget about that. That one, I guess, also could probably have like a sequel, but I feel like they kind of accomplished what they wanted to in the one season, which was introducing Kate Bishop as our new hero and kind of finishing the whole like plot lines with Scarlett's sister. What was her name? Like Yelena? Is that what her name is?
Yes. I
Yelena.
think I think I think Jeremy Renner's done. I think that's how they're going to finally retire his character, and I think Kate Bishop is going to,
Mm,
next time we see her, I think she will be in the Avengers, or at least she will be one of the founding members of the Young Avengers. And I think in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, which is coming out next Friday,
mhm.
so we won't really have a an episode up before then. So I guess we could use this episode to kind of do our predictions there. They did kind of. I don't know if you saw the newer trailer, but it has it has Carl Mordo saying the Illuminati will see you now. So we have confirmation that the Illuminati's going to be there, and we heard Patrick Stewart as Professor X, so we know he's going to show up.
Like it's I completely forgot about this as well. My one of my favorite shows they've done since they started doing the little Marvel shows is the What If series, right? The only
Oh
animated one,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And that
yeah.
does have some movie tie-ins as well. One of my favorite characters from the series, probably one of like most people's favorite characters, Strange Supreme, makes an on-screen appearance, live action.
And
Uh,
Zombie Strange.
oh, Zombie Strange is okay, yeah. So there's like
Mm-hmm.
lots of tie-ins to the show. I feel like this is the first big payoff for all of these TV shows, right? We get the payoff from WandaVision, from Loki, from the What If series, all kind of culminating in this one Doctor Strange movie.
Yeah, yeah,
And I
that
feel
is
like
interesting.
it'll be interesting to see how everything kind of pays off, right? And I feel like that'll really determine whether or not they'll lean more towards the shows in the future. If they see it's a really big success, I think the shows are a good idea. And it's definitely something that everybody can be a part of. You know what I mean? Because it's like a
Yes,
weekly thing. Like how we were talking about that. I think off stream. The whole weekly versus binge thing.
yes,
Are there
yes,
there's definitely like a community around all being together on something. So, and I think that Disney has really nailed that with this. I know that I was one of the first people to really hate it though, because I was so spoiled by Netflix
yeah.
for
I
dropping 12 episodes at once.
I think that um I think that the failure I was doing a little bit of thinking about this since we talked
Uh-huh.
about it yesterday. I think
Uh-huh.
that the failure of Game of Thrones
Uh-huh.
was like the last big like weekly show, cuz Game of Thrones was, I think still is, the most expensive show ever made. Like I think if you went season for season, Game of Thrones is more expensive than any other show ever. I maybe Mandalorian or one of the Marvel shows is close to topping it, but Game of Thrones went hard on that on the budget, and um, it was the last real big show, and I think the failure of season 8 really kind of put the nail in the coffin for a little while until I think Mandalorian brought it back. I think Mandalorian uh, kind of made everyone. Uh, I, and the other thing that I was thinking, going back to your weekly thing plus your binge thing, is that when a weekly show happens, it lasts a lot longer. right? Like a binge show, you can get through it in the like the amount of time that all those episodes are. You can binge through it in a day. But if you're getting those weekly drops, it lasts a lot longer and there's more time for speculation. And I think speculation, like online speculation has been like people speculating about TV shows and all that is like the quintessential internet activity, you know? Right? Like people were doing it for the X-Files back in the day, right?
Yeah, I definitely feel like a very large part of what makes movies, shows, most media popular has to do with the community that supports that media, that like interacts with it, right? And with the weekly shows, there's a lot more opportunity to interact with it because not only are you like watching with everybody else, you have that shared communal experience. You can be like, "Oh, did you watch this?" And you know exactly what I'm talking about without having to worry, "Oh, you're 2 episodes ahead of me, let me not spoil like, let me stop listening, that way I don't get spoiled," or, "Oh, you're behind me, I don't wanna spoil you." It's a lot more, it's a lot less of that community feeling when it's bingeable, because 'cause you're always not really sure where that other person is. Weekly shows,
Hmm.
there's no confusion. You're like, "You saw the episode Wednesday, we're caught up, y'all are trying to figure out what's gonna happen next episode." Whereas some people on like some Netflix shows, they'll be like, "Man, I wonder what happens next," and somebody will already know because they'll just be finished, and it's not quite as fun, I guess, because it's
Yeah,
not everybody all together. That sort of feeling.
yeah. I think well HBO, the people who kind of killed the weekly drop format with the failure of Game of Thrones, they did bring it back. Because as I was kind of recalling from last time, is that there are still big weekly shows that aren't um that are still big for us, right? Like for the younger generation. A lot of those big cable is a thing of the past, right?
Hmm.
The statistics are showing that Zoomers do not give a fuck about cable, right? It is
Yes.
all millennials and before, right?
Hmm.
Millennials are and the millennials and Gen Z, mostly Gen Z, are all on that streaming shit, right?
Hmm.
So now everyone's watching uh HBO Max, Hulu, um, Amazon Prime, Netflix, Disney Plus. Those are the
Yes.
big five. They're like basically unkillable now, and I think one of the biggest shows that's still dropping weekly uh, is Euphoria. Euphoria is huge. It is massive. Like every
That
week.
like I have heard a lot about Euphoria, and I looked into it, and I didn't really get the appeal personally. Um, I
It's
just don't think I'm quite the target audience, though.
it's definitely you are definitely not the target audience. The target audience is it is like a TV. I forget what the ratings for TV are. It's oh no, it's TVMA. It's TVMA, so it's not for you know it's not for high schoolers, but it absolutely is for high schoolers. It's for high schoolers and like 20, like very early 20 somethings, right? Like still in college. I would say like if you're about 24 or 25 and you're still watching Euphoria, you might not be the target audience anymore, to be honest.
I feel like the type of drama in that type of show and in shows similar to that just isn't my thing, right?
Yeah.
I feel like it's something that you see like every show do, and I feel like there's not really that many unique ways you can do it
I
over and
think
over again. It's hard, and I feel like it's unfair for Euphoria. I understand that. It's just I don't know. I've seen it done so well. I've seen it done very badly, and I feel like I'm just kind of tired of seeing it done, type of thing. You know?
I think there's one thing that Euphoria really really did that no other show did well,
Hmm.
and that was um uh Zendaya's character's drug habit. She was that that study of addiction is kind addiction in like early uh in like uh early young or not early young adulthood, I guess just young adulthood, adolescence,
Well,
high
I
school or drug
guarantee
use.
you, there's like several instances that you can find with
Yeah,
like
but like
drug issues in, like younger people
oh yeah,
on TV, right?
but they
What
never
okay, so what's the difference exactly that makes Zendaya's special? Because that's what I'm not understanding.
a lot of the I guess like the big comparison is like I think the show that Euphoria is like a better version of 13 Reasons Why. Cuz 13 Reasons Why is all about that kind of teenage angst and mental health bullshit and teen drama.
Well,
But
I did watch 13 Reasons Why, so
it's like from what
like,
I've heard from the
hmm,
people who like Euphoria, because these are this is the conversation of two people who have never watched Euphoria.
yeah, that's a good
I have
point.
not watched a single full episode of Euphoria.
I think I
Um,
started watching an episode and I couldn't finish it. It was, I don't know. It was not
yeah,
for us, not for me.
it's I think what I've heard is that Euphoria is like uh 13 Reasons Why if 13 Reasons Why wasn't written by a bunch of fucking middle-aged white guys trying to be woke and talk about mental health issues when never having struggled with any of them. Euphoria, from what I've heard, is written by people who actually, or it seems like it's written by people who have actually been through those struggles. I don't know how accurate that is, but apparently people think it's fairly authentic. I don't think it's authentic to my public high school experience, but granted,
I have to
uh,
be honest. When is high school and television ever been anything like any high school that you've ever been to? I can't
I
think of a
can't.
single time back in the day whenever they had high schools and meet like in shows and stuff, all with the modern times. I feel like back in the day it was super chill, you know what I mean, and relaxed before the age of terrorism and all that, and then apparently high school is like full of drama and drugs, and I feel like that's a small portion of what high school is, but I feel like it's not quite as prevalent as these shows really make them out to be. And maybe we just went to boring high schools, but
We
I
definitely went to boring high schools. Let let's not beat around the bush. We were boring kids at boring high schools.
I
Let's
know,
not
but
mince words.
yeah, but I feel like, if you only highlight the most absolutely bizarre and like out there high schools and then put those on TV,
Yeah,
then it's gonna give you like the public perception.
I think that you couldn't make a an accurate show about high school because
Because it's
most
not
prevailing
interesting.
yeah, the most prevailing emotion you feel in high school is a sense of boredom, and nothing eventful happens, right?
Like
Like,
there's so many things that actual high schools have to do that wouldn't even fly in like a show like Euphoria,
yeah,
because it
who would want to
just
sit through that?
it wouldn't be good for the entertainment, right?
Yeah, who would want
But
to
at
sit
the
through that?
same time, you look at shows like Euphoria you see all these things happening. I haven't watched Euphoria, so I don't want to. I don't want to just like assume things here, but it just seems like these kids are getting into much wilder situations than anybody that age around that age group they're playing would
Yeah.
ever get into, right?
Uh,
And I understand. Again, we went to a boarding high school, and I'm
yeah.
sure that could happen. It just doesn't seem very likely, you know?
Yeah. All right, so through my travels, um I I met a kid who was about 15. It wasn't in my high school. He was from Hong Kong,
Okay.
and he had done every single drug under the sun. Like every single one. When I like before he had turned 15. So I think
Um,
my prevailing theory, because like the most drugs people did at my high school was probably like fucking weed on the weekends, you know, like their parents, uh, or like they had friends who lived over the border in Illinois and like scored some weed for them. That was it, right?
is that like, is any of that like legal near where you are?
In Illinois, it is. Where I went to high school, I went to high school in Indiana, but like, from where I lived, you could walk to the border in about uh 10-20 minutes if you really wanted to. So it was no big deal. Like people, uh, a big thing in Indiana, for example, is that for a long time you couldn't buy liquor on Sundays. So if people wanted to buy liquor on Sundays, they would just pop on over to the other side of the border, and vice versa. You can't buy fireworks in Illinois, but you can buy them in Indiana. So they just cross the border over for that.
All right.
So yeah, it all depends. But yeah, that's basically uh
Because I know that for me, I definitely again, I was boring in high school. I'm sure you were kind of more boring too. But
yeah. I think if we had
like,
a more boring actually, we should have a more boring contest. But finish your story. Finish
okay,
your story.
well, so I had several people that I knew, right? I wasn't the closest friends with this group of friends, but that I knew did weed. And unlike other states, like where it's legal, it's not here.
Yeah.
And I always like, as somebody who's very boring and only sees what that I do from shows, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to figure out how realistic this whole drug dealing situation is, right? Because I saw that one movie, what was it was like what 21 Jump Street.
Yeah.
That seemed way over the top. You know what I mean? That
It.
wasn't weed, obviously. That was something
Yeah.
different. But like I just feel like I don't understand like how it's just so easy for people to just obtain these illegal substances, you know?
I don't.
Is it really just that easy to just garden, just make a weed plant and then just sell it? Nobody cares. Nobody has anything to say.
Well, all right. So see, here's the thing. Again, I've never smoked weed before. I've never done cocaine or anything. You know.
Man, our
Um.
viewers are finding out how boring we are this
I've
episode.
never
This
even
is
smoked a cigarette. I've hit a vape a couple times before when I was 14, and that was about it. So I am not the person to ask about this. I am
yeah. Well,
I am very boring. I but
are we doing the
I don't
boring contest? Is that our goal
in
now?
a minute. Give me a fucking second. Give me a fucking second. I'll whoop your ass in a boring contest, my man.
Like,
Um, in
well,
high school, for the last 3 years of, well, was I only, I don't know how long I was in high school. I think it was 3.5 years. But yeah, I was very boring then. But I don't think anyone in my high school was doing heroin. I'm pretty sure. If I
okay.
had to guess,
Well, here's a question. How big was your high school?
it was. decently large. It was one of the larger ones around. I
Like, so you
believe
couldn't have known everybody,
3,000,
right?
3,300 ish, 3,500, 33 to 3,500.
Well, how many for yours? Like, how many for? Well, I guess I was gonna say how many for your class, but I guess 3,300 for the whole school is kind of what matters more.
Yeah,
I don't have the number for the whole school. I just have my class number. But like, so you couldn't possibly have known all these students,
absolutely not.
and
Absolutely
there
not.
and
Not
there is
even
a good
close.
chance that a small percentage of them did some more serious drugs than just the typical weed and all that, right?
I'm sure maybe I probably wasn't hanging out with the kind of kids who would have done anything that crazy. The kid, I never really hung out with anyone from my high school. It
Yeah.
took me a long time
Okay.
before I actually really hung out with anyone like outside of school. It was I was mostly a homebody when I was in high school. I really didn't leave the house all that much. Are we starting our boring off? Can I?
Well, talking about the whole friend situation in high school, right? I feel like if I talk about how many people I talked to in high school, how many like relationships I made, there was lots of surface level relationships, right? The type of relationships that
Mm-hmm.
are just like we're friends because we have a class together, but if we didn't,
Yeah.
we'd probably never talk again. And that's why pretty much my quote unquote friend group dwindled to single digits from whatever it was as soon as I graduated because it was like 99% of the people they were gone, right?
Yeah.
And kind of like you, I have always kind of been like a home person as well. So that didn't really help with like again keeping a lot of friends after high school. And it took a long time, but like I said, I got two friends, and I feel like two's great. Two's a
Yes.
good number, golden number. And then I have you, Nick. But that
Mm-hmm.
that's that's
I
that.
predate all your high school friends, so that
Well, the thing is, the two friends that I'm talking about, I did go to school like elementary to high school with, so they it might be close, but
it's probably fairly close, to be honest.
yeah, but like
For
if
me,
we're
at
talking
least.
like how I want to understand like what you consider boring. That way I can make sure I'm giving you the right information here.
All
To,
right. So are we including how long are we including here, right? Because I kind
oh,
of changed schools. Um, my living situation was very kind of took a very drastic change, uh, somewhat
Nick,
between my freshman year and the first half of my sophomore semester,
I
or
would
the
love
first
to
semester
hear
of
more
sophomore
of this
year.
story, right? Because I feel like I've known you for a long time, and I don't think I've ever heard the full story of exactly what happened.
I don't know if I can really get into exactly what happened, but I can kind of tell
You
you
can
where
you
it
can't give me
changed.
like the specifics because what I remember, right? You and I were pretty good friends. We hung out all the time. I think it was the 360 back then, right? Before even the one.
Yes,
Well, I think that we might
yes.
have shifted over to the one very briefly,
I don't
but
think you had gotten one yet. I had had one, but I was having audio issues, so I was
I
still using my 360.
I think it was like very very early on though in the Xbox One cycle, right? So
Yeah, the Xbox One had been out. I had already had one. I just don't know if you had gotten one yet. And
I
I know
think
that we didn't have any
no,
games in common.
I think I did because I remember I switched my accounts, right? I had the old
You
one, and then I added you on the new one. I think that's what happened.
you might have. You
Yeah,
might
but so
have.
it was around early Xbox One era. I'm not really sure what year that is. Maybe like 2013.
I can when we met or when Are
Well,
we
I'm talking about.
going through the whole timeline of from when we met to when we from when we got into high school, or are we doing just the boring off?
Well, you see, now I'm trying to like tell this story. The story of the disappearing act for
Oh
several
yeah.
years
All
of
right,
Nick
I'll tell
here.
it. I'll tell it from my perspective,
Well, now and I'll
because I
add
know your
little.
perspective.
I'll add parts too, because I feel like my perspective is important as well, right?
All right. So it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to do this because I don't want to like take too long with this, but obviously I want to tell the full story. So, um, what had so basically we met in about 2014, and I had just done I was just wrapping up 5th grade, um, and then I went away for that summer, came back, switched to a new school, and then you and I kind of developed our friendship a bit more. I think you were just getting in. You were just in 8th grade, I believe, um, and I was in 6th. So through 6th grade, we were friends. 7th grade was kind of where I started to be a little bit of a troublemaker. Um, Started not being invested in school anymore. We moved states. We went from Pennsylvania to Indiana. So that kind of threw a wrench in things. I had moved uh, I'd gone through 3 schools in 7th grade. I had started out at the one I went to 6th grade for in Pennsylvania, and then I was at one middle school for about a month, and then another over the county line when we finally moved into a house. Um, and I was there. Uh, so this was very early in 7th grade too, right? So the school year started in August in Pennsylvania, and then I moved to Indiana in October. And I was there at that one middle school until Thanksgiving break. And then after that, I went to the new middle school from Thanksgiving break onwards to past Christmas break. And then I came back and it was mid January, and I was just not going to school anymore. So my mom was like, all right, public school's not working. I'm going to send him to the woods for about 3 months. So I got sent to an outdoor program, kind of teach me some like life skills and stuff.
So was this like your sudden disappearance? Because
Yes,
also
yeah,
while this was happening, right? While this whole story was going on, we've obviously were playing games, Xbox, hung out, pretty often,
yes,
and there was kind of a moment where he just kind of vanished. No warning,
yeah.
no heads up.
They did not tell me they were going to do that, and obviously I didn't have my phone or my electronics on me when that happened, so I just kind of uh, uh, Huncho Houdini is gone, just poof, disappeared. Cause
Disappeared.
yeah,
Well,
and
let's
then
talk about that 3 months, right? Because I distinctly remember a little bit longer than 3 months.
well, first, well here now I'm getting into the story that your perspective doesn't cover, right?
Okay.
So I lived in the woods for 3 months, no electronics. I
Okay.
moved into a boarding school for about May, June, July, from May to December, and then a whole year after that. So 12 years plus 5 is 17 months. So 20 months in total, I was gone, roughly.
Okay.
Uh, so for the 17 months that I was in boarding school, about half of them, uh, maybe not half, but for a good portion of it, um, roughly from May till sort of the winter months, like as uh yeah, like middle of the winter. That sort of I think probably about February or January. I got a flip phone that I was allowed to use, and I got your number put on there. And I kind of hit you up. I was like, "Yeah, sorry, I've been gone for the last year, uh, but I didn't I didn't have like Xbox Live out at boarding school, and I didn't really use it on my home visits all that much, and I didn't have that many to begin with, so I
Hmm.
couldn't really reach out, but I did. And then you were like, "All right, cool." So we kind of drifted apart because I still had no way of like really doing anything with you. And then for
Hmm.
about a year, I had my flip phone, and then in December of 2017, I got out and flew home and got into a public high school. And that's when things get a lot more boring. Because after I got into public high school, I was the, uh, I was like the most boring person in the whole world. Let's see, I didn't go to,
So does your boring, like, your boring like streak or your boring life, does it start pretty much right after you get out of boarding school and all that, or is this like?
I would say right after because while I was in boarding school, I was going out and doing things.
Yeah, because I was gonna
I,
say about that. I feel like that sounds way
yeah.
more interesting than whatever I was doing in middle school. I was probably just
Well, that
playing
I,
Minecraft. You know what I mean? Like that's.
yeah. Well, when I started at boarding school, it was May. It was the May after seventh grade, and they only gave high school classes there, so they just kind of skipped me a grade. So starting in May, I was taking high school classes. So technically, that was my freshman year. Um, and for the first, freshman year, we couldn't really like go out and like hang out with like normal kids. Um, because we were the boarding school kids and they had to make sure we didn't like run away or whatever. So for the first little while, it was just me and the other boarding school kids. We wouldn't really do anything, and we wouldn't really meet other kids. And then in about January or February of 2017, I got into community theater, and I did that from basically from that February or that March all the way to like the end of September. So I had friends. Uh I would like either walk to school or like ride my bike to school for um a long while, and that's uh that's like how I got around. So
Hmm.
I was able to just bike around town because it was a very very small town that I lived in. Uh, so I did manage to have some kind of a social life, but after I got home and sophomore year started, or like the second half of sophomore year started, and I was in public high school, my social life just dropped. Like, my main friends were you and the people who I went to boarding school with. My one friend, Jacob, shout out Jacob, love you, you're the homie. Um, he would come from Seattle because he lives in Seattle. Um, and he would come over to my house sometimes, like for spring break or whatever, and we would just hang
Hmm.
out. And then I went to his house in Thanksgiving of 2018. That was pretty cool.
And he's
Um,
gonna come to my house this Thanksgiving, guys. That's
oh,
how.
no, no, I don't know about that.
No, you're not gonna
Um,
make the trip.
that sounds like
My
shit.
family is so nice. It's gonna be great.
I know, but it sounds like a hella boring, like a hella long road trip. Like,
Well,
holy shit.
just get on a plane. You know.
Fuck that. No, 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 no. But whatever. Anywho, so
Okay. Well.
all right, now we're getting into why I would win a boring contest with you, right?
Okay.
So
Well, I feel like you know kind of some of the things that I did in high school. Maybe not everything. I'm just trying to figure out. Okay, so tell me why you think you're more boring. And I don't. And this is another thing, right? I feel like as two people who are boring, we're not very good judges of this,
yeah, I guess maybe you guys
because
can all
like it's one
leave
of those things
submissions.
where you know we both play video games, and to probably somebody else that would be boring, but to us, you see, we don't really think so. So I feel like we need like an outside perspective. So if you listen to this and we figured out some way to get comments in,
Yeah,
definitely tell us who's more boring.
yeah. Um,
I I don't know if we want to win that competition, but like, okay.
all right. So can I get into why I think I would win?
Yes, tell me your points.
So I think I would win because I did not go to a single one of my high school dances. I skipped every single one of them. I
Okay.
uh I don't think I had one date at the beginning of my junior year. Um and then as I was going, I think from junior into senior year, I hung out with a freshman girl, but she was dating someone. So she kind of led me on, um but didn't it didn't really go anywhere. So I only hung out with her like twice, and then it just didn't go anywhere. And then uh I didn't have a like an in-person girlfriend throughout all of high school at all. Um
Yeah, I am interested. Maybe we could dissect this a little bit later too. Like this
Maybe next
complex
episode.
dating history that you seem to have.
maybe
Be-
next episode.
Because let me tell you guys who are listening, he has like a catalog. It seems like sometimes the way he talks about this.
I keep a list. Okay, that's all. It's I
Well,
just keep it
well,
for posterity. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that?
we'll
Whatever.
get into
We're
this
getting distracted.
list
We're
next
getting
next time.
distracted.
No, I'm just,
You're
I'm just, I feel like these are interesting things. I'm enjoying this.
all right.
The Nick
So,
Power Hour.
oh Jesus Christ. Oh my God. So we I guess fuck. Where was I? You made me lose my train of thought. God damn it.
Okay, you were
Um.
talking about how you didn't have a single in person girlfriend, right?
Yeah.
Which I'm assuming meant you had some sort of online girlfriend or
Yeah.
something.
Or maybe it was the same summer. It was actually. All right. So it was, I think, going into my junior year. Yes. Going into my junior year, I um I went I hung out with that one freshman girl. It didn't really go anywhere. And then I dated one girl, and then that didn't kind of work out online. She's from Britain. And then
Hmm.
uh that didn't really work out. So then I went to a football game. Uh, the one and only football game I ever went to with this one girl. I think it was also a freshman. Um, and yeah, that was like the one actual date I had throughout all of high school. And I was stupid because I kept trying to get back with my ex, even though I had went on that date with that girl, and we really hit it off, and I really liked her. I didn't. I should have pursued that more, but I didn't. So that kind of fucked me over. I could have had a girlfriend all throughout high school because she was pretty cool. Um, but I'm stupid. So what else is new? Um,
He finally admits it, guys.
fuck off.
Clip
Shut
it and
up.
ship it.
Fuck off.
Clip it and
Shut
ship it, guys.
up. You're dumb. I hate you. But anywho, I never went to a single dance. Um, none of the winter formals, none of the homecomings, none of the proms. Um,
Like, I again, it feels strange that I'm gonna go up and I'm gonna argue my case for the most boring. I feel like this
Oh, wait,
we
wait,
really
wait.
should be arguing for
You're
the
not
opposite
getting
here.
it though. You're not getting it though, right? Right. So I think the first time I ever hung out with people outside of school was, I think, in my junior year. I uh I hung out with my friend James a couple times. Shout out to James. He might listen to this. Uh I hope he does, because I am shouting him out here. Uh, but yeah, I hung out with him and his girlfriend, and his girlfriend's sister and his brother. And I actually still have fond memories about that night. I remember we just kind of drove around. It was his girlfriend's sister's birthday, so I just bought 100 fucking McNuggets for everybody, and we just kind of chilled at his house, and it was pretty lit. Um, and then in senior year, um, we hung out a couple times too, but I was only there. So my senior year was more of a senior semester because I had done 2 summers of high school work.
Hmm.
So I got to get out early. Um, Even earlier than I was supposed to because I technically skipped a grade and a half. So I got to get out early, and right after I graduated, we moved. So that kind of happened. But like, I think I can count on one hand the amount of times that I hung out with someone. No, it is two. I think 6 times I hung out with people outside of school, and that was it. So
Okay.
I
Like,
think I might have you beat there.
well, I feel like I can kind of go into my little story here, right?
Yeah.
Unlike Nick here, I did go through elementary all the way to high school in the same district. I did kind of transfer to my elementary school about second grade, so it was a tiny bit of like
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get the first couple grades with these students, but all the rest of my high school pretty much with the same people, right? So I did kind of make friends, and like I said, it was very very like situational friends, right? Type of friends. You're
Mm-hmm.
only friends with them because, you know, y'all are both trapped in a classroom. Besides
Mm-hmm.
that, you probably wouldn't be friends. I had
Yeah.
tons of friends like that, right?
I had a lot of like that too. Yeah.
For friends that I hung out with outside of school, there wasn't really any friends I hung out with outside of school except for in high school. In middle school, it was probably just me and my cousins and family members, you know. I'm pretty sure
Mm-hmm.
every single summer people almost forgot that I existed until I came back, you know,
Yeah. I think
which,
that's how it was for me.
that was always fun. But for my girl situation, I'm going to tell you a story, Nick. I'm not sure if I've told you this story before, right?
I'm not. I don't know how much time we have left. I think we'll do a short. I think we'll do a short red button.
Okay. Well,
We'll do a
maybe I
short
shouldn't
one.
get into the maybe the relationship
No,
episode
no,
will be
no, no,
next
no, no.
time.
We'll do. Yeah. All right. So we'll do the relationship episode. Uh, episode 3. All right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll do a deep dive into your relationship, my relationship. We'll get okay. Well, I'll skip that story then. But
Yeah. Right. Make a note of that. All right. I'll make a note of that.
I joined the band at my school in okay, so fifth grade I had music class. Sixth grade we chose our instruments, and from sixth grade all the way through senior year, I played the alto saxophone, which
Mhm.
I think is one of the cooler instruments personally.
Yeah. Yeah. You
You
know,
know,
Careless
like
Whisper.
yes, Careless Whisper, Pink Panther, the Cantina Band classics all
Yep.
around.
Yep.
But because of this, unlike a lot of Nick's scenarios here, I was very active in a lot of school events. I went to pretty much every single pep rally because I was in it. I went to every single football game because I was in it.
They forced us to go to all the pep rallies. They forced us. It was mandatory. Like unless
Well,
we were failing a class and we needed to stay behind to study, they forced us to go. I almost failed a couple classes just so I wouldn't have to fucking go to those. I hated it.
yeah, to be honest, it was just cool to get out of class. And I stood
Yeah,
next to some of my friends
we
in
didn't get out of
the
class for it. So
oh, so when did y'all have it then?
we had
You had to
I'll
replace
try and keep
something,
this
right?
I'll try and keep this very brief. So basically how we did it was we had blue days, white days, and Wednesdays. So we'd have blue day Monday, white day Tuesday, Wednesday, blue day Thursday, white day Friday.
Oh
On
my.
white days we would have so every day we would have 4 periods except for Wednesday we would have 7. So, and we would meet with all our classes. So we had 7 classes, 4 on blue day, 3 on white day, and then second period white day we had what was called PTE, which I think is like Pathways to Excellence or some motivational buzzword bullshit. But it was basically just homeroom, and we would use that to like study or. In my case, for senior year, I just played Tetris the whole time. But
Classic,
anywho,
classic.
yeah, that's what got replaced.
Okay, so that's kind of a weird system, but I am assuming that we're crunching for time here. But I want to try to get through this story, right?
Yeah, finish,
So
finish. Go ahead.
I was in all the school events, right?
Hmm.
I went to all of the school functions as well, and there's
Yeah.
even a couple extra school functions as a part of band that I went to,
Hmm.
like competitions as well as band and choir each had their own separate dances that were exclusive just to band, just to choir, right? So it was a really cool, like kind of exclusive band only event. So I went to that. Um, as for my relationship story, I won't get too into it because that's for next episode.
Yeah, I wrote it down so that way we will
But
remember it.
but I ended up having somebody my sophomore year, pretty
Hmm.
much all the way to senior year, that I went to everything with, right? Um, I feel like my friendships like outside of school were kind of very very sparse. I tried to hang out with people on occasion, and usually it would really never amount to anything, right? Like I would
Hmm.
invite people over to do a project, and I'd kind of try to see like hang out with them, you know what I mean? Or I would go over to somebody's house to do a project. But thing is, I feel like I never had like one of those really close friends that you can just kind of hang out outside of school, right?
Yeah.
Everybody kind of was doing their own thing. Even now, there's only like of those two friends that I mentioned earlier, right? There's only one friend that I probably could hang out with regularly. The other one's, is a little busy, right?
Yeah.
So it's very, very, very small group of people that I know now. But back in high school, I was the type of guy that literally talked to everybody in the entire band. Everybody, right?
Yeah.
Just to
I
kind of
was.
gauge, how well of a person I could kind of think they are just kind of by talking to them, right? I
Yeah.
would talk to all the new people. I kind of became kind of a leadership role, just because of my seniority. Uh, and I was pretty active among, like I said, while I was in school, I was very talkative, very, very social. It's just outside of school, pretty much from when Overwatch launched, I just, it's
That killed your social life. Fucking Overwatch killed your social life.
yes, Overwatch. I was consumed for years in Overwatch, and
I know
the
it was
second
sad.
one is around the corner. It might be a
I
coming
hope
of
it.
the ages,
I hope it gets canceled for your sake because you will flunk college if they release it. It will kill your academic career.
Hey man, I feel like it might kill my social life too. You know what I mean?
Oh, it
Like
absolutely will. Your girlfriend will leave you because you're too busy
Mm,
playing
the-
Overwatch too.
that's another thing, right? I remember on Xbox, I had hundreds of friends only from Overwatch, and now if you look at
Oh
my
my
friends
god.
list, I had to delete all of them because there's no reason to have them on my friends list anymore,
Yeah, that is kind of sad. All right.
right? But
Yeah.
yeah, so like probably not quite as boring as Nick over here. I feel like in school I was decently like not popular. That's not the word I would use, but I was pretty social, right? There was
Yes.
still like the
Yeah.
cliques and all that. And I feel like you see these people have like super duper close relationships in school, right? And I
Yeah.
never had anybody that I kind of clicked with in that way. I
Mhm.
feel like a lot of the relationships I had were very surface level,
Yeah.
right?
Me too.
I always wondered how people made those like really deep relationships. And it's one of those things where I don't know about you, right? But you I feel like I was the one that reached out a lot of the time to try to make those friendships, but there was never really that reached out to me, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
I
feel
think
like that's the secret. Somebody has to reach out to you because nobody reached out to me, and then I didn't have any close friends.
yeah.
I guess by high school it was too late, you know. I guess I had to get in middle school,
Yeah. I had a
you know.
couple uh uh decent friends in in high school that I kind of I've found a decent sort of click by the time by the time my sort of last year kind of rolled around. Senior year, I kind of found something there, but not really. Um, yeah, I guess it's up to you guys. You can decide which of us is the bigger loser in high school.
Yes, let's
Um,
factor in Overwatch too.
yeah,
Overwatch,
yeah.
well, I mean, yeah, because
I, I I feel like
look,
now that you've put
let
your
me
thumb on
tell
the
you,
scale a little bit.
I really could go very deep into how bad it was, this Overwatch
Yeah.
thing, because
Hmm.
I would the problem is I would still play Overwatch if I
I'm
had
sure
somebody to
you
play it
would.
with me, right? If
I'm
Nick
sure you
downloaded
would.
Overwatch today, I would grind it as hard as I did before just to play with Nick. But
There's
the
like no
problem is
progression at all
there's
either.
n- there's nobody to play it with anymore, and
Yeah,
it
it's a
kind
dead
of
game.
lost all of its appeal. They made tons of changes that I didn't really find very fun.
Yeah,
They might have been quote unquote fair changes, and that's fine or whatever. Make the game fair, but they're just not very fun changes, you know.
yeah. All right. You want to do our big red button? You want to you ready
Well,
for
do
that?
you have one for me to present, or because I know you wrote some
Um,
down, or I
I
could
I
I
have a
could.
couple written down. Do you have a couple written down?
No, I just gave you my suggestions, but
Okay. All right.
I
I
could
will.
wing it.
No, I got a couple decent ones. You should write a couple down. Just so we can switch it up for next time. But
No, no, I
um
can I can do this. Don't worry, I got this.
um
We can wing it. We can wing it out of left field. This is gonna be exciting, I'm sure.
no, I have a decent short one that I don't think it'll take
I feel
like
like
20
I
minutes to discuss.
I feel like this one. I don't know how deep of a question this is. It's a pretty easy question, I think.
All right, all right. Well, all right. Hit me with it. Hit me with it.
It says an hour of exercise will make you more beautiful, but an hour of exercise will also make you considerably dumber.
Ooh,
Right?
that's a
So
hard choice.
right. So in theory, you could just work out for like a couple hours and be
Yes.
super duper beautiful. All those insecurities gone. But then you're like a typical blonde, like a stereotypical blonde person. You know what I mean? Ditzy,
Yes.
And what does considerably dumber really mean? Because
All
is
right,
there like
let's.
tiers to this?
I wish it would give us like a mathematical thing, right?
Oh yeah, that's the
Actually, we
nerds in
can.
us right there.
Actually, wait, we can. How about we just discuss mathematically, like, how would you want to do it? Like, um,
Could we do half an hour and get half as dumb?
no,
There's
no, 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 no. I wanna figure out the ratio between points on the look scale from 1 to 10 to IQ points, right?
well,
So,
my thing about this question, right, is that
mm-hmm,
the only people that I feel like will truly choose to make themselves dumber just to look better are people that are already insecure, right? And what do you think about that question?
I don't know. I think dumb hot people can have it very, very easy.
I
Dumb
understand
hot
that,
people can
right?
get through
But that's
life
the thing,
very easily.
right? I feel like if you are so worried about your looks that you're willing to take a deal like this, you know, I feel like that's kind of just the thing of like insecurity more than it is the thing that you're ugly, right?
Uh,
Because
I
I'm
would
sure,
like to counter though. I
I'm
would like
sure,
to counter though.
but look, even a super beautiful person, right? And like this is, I'm pretty sure you've heard this before too, right? You'll see like super duper skinny girls and they'll look in the mirror and they won't be skinny enough, right? And that's kind of what I imagine with this, right? No matter
Mm-hmm.
how you look, right? You do your hours exercise, it'll never be enough, right? So the insecure person wants to just keep getting more and more and more. It's kind of like it gets to a point where it's like, how far are they willing to go to be beautiful, right?
All right, but
Because you have the people that are willing to throw up constantly to be beautiful. Now, are you gonna have the people that just considerably make themselves extremely dumb to be beautiful? It's just, I feel like it's along the same vein?
I mean, yeah, I guess. But I would like to counter
Okay, what's your
as
counter?
someone who's decently intelligent. I suppose you know. I'm not a super genius by any terms, but I think realistically, I'm a fair bit smarter than the average person. Um, I would say that ignorance is bliss is a very true statement, and I think people who are, and I think someone who is dumb and hot really can just coast through life fairly easily, right? Like,
Yeah, I agree, but I don't know. Maybe for me, I just value intelligence much much higher than beauty. Also,
mm-hmm,
I'm not very insecure about how I look, right? So for me, I'm not even too worried about how I look. And I feel like, maybe, you kind of feel the same, right? If you're already kind of are confident in yourself, you may not be the best looking, but you're still comfortable with how you look, right? I
yeah,
feel
I
like
think that's somewhat accurate.
why would you want to change it? I understand like, the appeal to want to get better looking, but you don't need to, right? If you're already comfortable with yourself. And I feel like it's not worth it if you already have that, like I said, you're already comfortable. Unless you just don't care about being intelligent. But like I said, I value intelligence very highly personally. So I probably would say no. Granted, if you're a really, really dumb person already, why not? You can't get that much dumber, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, and I think if you can, I think the dumber and hotter you are, you can eventually just find someone who's smart but has shit taste in people and is very shallow, and they'll just do all the work and pay for you. Like,
Like this may be uh you know, I thought of an example, right?
yeah,
I have been watching Family Guy from the beginning. I
yeah,
know, right?
yeah,
Uh, Brian the dog? He has a
Yes.
girlfriend. I'm not sure how much you've
Oh
watched Family
yeah,
Guy.
yeah,
The
yeah,
blonde girl,
yeah,
that's exactly
yes.
what I was thinking of, right?
That's yeah,
Is that sort of character, right? They're like very, very extremely dumb. They call Brian, they're like, I can't figure out how the TV works. And he's like, did you plug it in? She's like, it's working. It's like that sort of thing, right?
yeah.
It's
I
like,
actually had a different. I had a different example in mind.
oh, what is
Um,
your example better?
yes, I would say it is kind of a better example.
Okay.
Um, my example was John Hamm's character in 30 Rock. I don't know how much 30 Rock you've watched, if at all.
I don't think so.
Basically, Liz Lemon, played by the lovely Tina Fey, um, meets a guy who lives upstairs from her, and he is extremely hot, and he's played by the very handsome John Hamm from Mad Men. Uh, you know, have you ever seen the meme where he was like, uh, "I don't care about you at all"? That guy, John Hamm.
Uh, no, but
All
it's
right, whatever.
continue on. I feel
He's
like
very
I.
yeah, he's very handsome. Um, and there's a couple episodes, and then like where they kind of establish their relationship. Then they get into a relationship, and then they do an episode where Liz Lemon starts to realize that he is extremely dumb,
Mhm.
and he like coasts by because he looks like John fucking Hamm. He's absolutely a gorgeous, gorgeous man, and he skates by through life, and nobody like challenges him or anything because he's hot, right? So like,
Mhm.
one of the examples is a bunch of like women kept asking him to like teach them how to play tennis because he played tennis in college. Um, but he sucks at it. Like Liz Lemon, who's like they make jokes about her all the time that she's not athletic at all. She absolutely obliterates him, and she's like, "Holy shit, he's just been coasting through life by being hot." And then she ends the relationship with him. But he's like so stupid, but he's just incredibly good looking, and he just gets by through life super easily because he's hot. And there is like statistic evidence that that is how it works for better than average looking people. The better looking you are, the taller you are, the more successful you're gonna be. So I think,
Like I get what you're saying, and I think that that's a really good point, right? Because
yeah,
you can get so dumb that even like the most trivial things will keep your attention, you'll be entertained, right? You won't have the same wants and desires that a more intelligent person might have, right?
oh yeah,
So you'll kind of like how you were saying, ignorance is bliss, right? You just kind of go about life and you're coasting, right? I feel like that's great, right? And I feel like for the most part that's fine. It's just when you actually have to encounter like problems, which I'm sure you will eventually, you're gonna be completely ill equipped to do anything of any use at all.
I just think
So
it
I feel
depends
like,
on the day. I feel like if I caught you on a day where you were like super bored and like, ugh, there's nothing interesting to do, and I'm not intellectually stimulated at all, and there's just so much stress being pushed on me. I think if I offered you that choice to be like 10 IQ points dumber, but like 10 to 20 IQ points dumber, but 1 to 2 points higher on the attractiveness scale, I think I could I could convince you, because you'll be much easier to entertain as a dumb person, because
yeah,
turns out most TV is made for dumb people. Very
yeah.
very dumb people. Cable TV is for dumb people.
Well, if you have
And
cable, then
yeah,
I feel like you're already making a mistake, right?
yeah, but if you're dumb, uh,
If
yeah,
you're
most
dumb.
TV is made for dumb people, and so most movies are made for dumb people. So you would be able to uh, entertain yourself a lot, and it'd be easier to do that. You could get smart people to do whatever you want, uh, like to kind of
Do
fix
you
your
do you
life.
think that it's just that easy? Just being attractive is enough to just pull the whims of people that are smarter than you?
I'm gonna give you another very dated example to end the show, to end the episode, to kind of end my little
Yeah, because I
thing.
feel like I'm on the no side. I'm on the don't push the button side, right? But I do see the appeal. I do.
Yeah.
I understand.
All I'm going to say is that Jessica Simpson on her reality show was eating tuna out of a can that said chicken of the sea. And she
Mhm.
asked, "So is this chicken or fish?" She said, "Is tuna chicken or fish?" Because it says chicken on the side.
Mhm.
And she is a multimillionaire.
I feel
So all
like
I'm going to say
you
is
can
that if
find
you're hot
tons of.
enough, you can get damn near anywhere.
You know what? I I didn't think about it that way because I'm sure I could find like a dozen clips of the Kardashians saying something of
Yeah.
that same caliber of how could you possibly be serious? And they are successful. I so there is some merit to it.
Yeah. So all I'm going to say is don't don't knock it until you try it. I would say there are days upon which that I would love to press that fucking button. I don't think
I
I would right now, but
I
I think
think
I
I
absolutely
think
would
it's a
like to
conditional thing,
sometimes.
yeah, because
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I feel like if it really, really gets difficult and you're bored and you're just like not wanting to really try anymore, right? Put in the effort,
Hmm.
just just do a couple hours of exercise, right?
Yeah. And you would, yeah, yeah. All right. I
There
think
you go.
I think we're in agreement.
All
Um,
right, guys, let us know. Will you click the
yeah,
button?
yeah. Um, but I've been incredibly influential,
And I've been highly successful.
and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye now.